Welcome back, guys. Here we're trying to help you out with a Simcity 5 tutorial by working with Simcity 4. As you can tell if you followed the last one, I've expanded a bit down to the right hand side with a new residential development. You can tell everything's linked up with railway tracks, and if you're staring at me going, why do you love railways so much? Well, the simple thing is with Simcity 4, they are so cheap to maintain. They're like 0.03 cents per little trekky thing. So they're really cheap to just put down and leave there. They're not going to dig that much into your budget. As you can tell, I'm ticking over pretty nicely right now. The only thing I will admit to is I do have this prison thing that's $250 extra a month, and that accidentally got placed because the pop-up came up and I clicked the wrong button, and I plunked it there when I was trying to expand my landfill. So if you take away the 250, I'm turning over about $1,000 a month really quickly, and it's pretty helpful, especially when I want to expand, but I don't have enough money just yet. So I'm going to talk today about taking out loans. Now I'm not sure if this follows through in SimCity 5, but I do know that your monthly income is every hour in SimCity 5, so you will be ticking over money a bit quicker, and hopefully you'll be making a bit more money. So before you expand, check everything that you own or every infrastructure you have now is working at its 100% efficiency. Otherwise you're going to have problems with those pesky protesters popping up again, telling you everything's not okay. And as you can tell, I got lots of demand for agricultural, but we're ignoring that. So we're working with commercial and residential, so we have a big boost since that last big expansion. So I'm going to try and build a secondary commercial zone here and another residential out here, and I'm going to hopefully turn this center here into high-tech industry and try and get rid of this dirty industry that we have here, and maybe push that out further this way where it's less likely to have an influence over the commercial center. So let's see how this goes. I'm simply just going to follow the same staple sort of layout I have here, 8x8 blocks spreading out with low density houses around the outside. Now if you're wondering why I like this technique, it's based off a real world schedule called a neighborhood orientated development. Now this is basically a jewel of a transit orientated development where a public transport system, i.e. in this case the trains, is within walking distance of residential developments, and it's about 800 meters at the most, ideally 400 meters. Now a neighborhood orientated development has residential developments on both sides as opposed to just a single side. So anyway, doesn't matter, but it's just out there if you want to know. So we're going to come down and expand. Yes, that's another thing to remember in SimCity 4. It doesn't really take into account the walkable distance, as Sims will just drive their car 5 meters down the road if they have the opportunity to, and they do a lot. So the train system comes more in handy when you start connecting up regions, and you'll see if you do end up connecting up regions how much of a help train stations are, because you can really avoid road traffic by doing this. Okay, so let's just chuck it on pause and get to it. Okay, so we've kind of reached the point now in SimCity 4, so this one's only SimCity 4 specific, but we've reached the point where I put so many of these water towers in, it's become more cost effective to put a water pump in by itself. So that means I can get rid of all my existing water towers and replace it with a water pump. That means I save a lot, and it's a lot more future proofed. Now you can simply just go into pipe mode. It's the easiest way to do it. Chuck it on pause so make sure you don't annoy all your Sims, and just pop off every one of these little towers. Now you can develop that land with something else, but I just tend to chuck a water pump straight smack bang down on top of it like that. Keeps everything easy to remember. Oh, and you gotta make sure these pipes are connected up as well, otherwise you're gonna have trouble. So let's just bring this down to the next development. Okay, as you can tell, I'm chugging along with my little development, and you can pretty much almost straight away just put high density surrounding this, because this area is going to take off eventually. You can probably put some low density commercial. As you can tell, I've got some mixed use here. There's industrial right across the road, and there's residential as well as commercial, so everything's really mixed up and in close proximity. Now that's a really important thing when it comes to spreading out people's residences and their work locations. Otherwise you're going to have some pretty big issues with transport when you get further on into the game. Okay. So as you can tell, my funds are getting kinda low, so maybe it's time to start thinking about taking out a loan. Now that's definitely, well, as far as I know, that's Simcity 4 specific as well. So let's try and deal with taking out a loan. Now we won't need too much to expand a bit further, so let's just click down here and let's take out about $30,000. You can tell it's going to take 10 years to pay this debt off at $371 a month, so we're going to have a turnover 371 extra. Now I could do that quite comfortably at the moment, but hopefully with some further expansion this will be even easier. So let's just fill this up with some more medium density, just around the fringes there, and chuck some high density in there if you'd like. What we are going to need to do is we're going to need this expansion up with work, otherwise you're going to have a whole bunch of unemployed Sims and they're nothing but a pain in the bum. So let's try and get some extra work in here. Now, I'm not going to make connections via roadways. I'm going to try and stick to rail as much as I can. It's a cheap but a little nice way to avoid the traffic issues that come along. Alright, so let's get some more medium intensity here. Now I quite like my running model for my town centre, so I'm just going to mimic that down here as well. Just because it's something really simple to do. It doesn't require too much destruction. Or too much unoriginal kind of... not unoriginal, too much dodgy thinking. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is try and rezone some of this central bit with all this dirty industry, and hopefully it gets taken over by heavy manufacturing and high-tech industry. But remember, by doing this you do take out a large chunk of your tax income as well. So make sure you don't delete everything in one swoop and go thinking you're going to be Iron Man and make a super sustainable city, but then have no tax income to back up all those expenses. Okay, so here's like a brief overview of my expansion with some more industry, some more commercial, and we have some room for further expansion down the south. I'll probably link the rail up around here again, like we have up the top. Alright, let's see how this works out. Okay, so I've just left this running and we've just unlocked the university, and this is such a big help with getting some of that big business in. So we're going to have to really think about where we place it in the city. Now I'm thinking it's going to make a perfect addition right in the center so all the Sims can access this university. But we're going to have to save up some funds since we're out, but we're turning over a real high revenue at the moment, so that shouldn't be a problem. Just going to let things play out a bit more and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so I've reached the point where I can afford to put on university. I'm going to use this opportunity to redevelop this. central yucky zone of dirty industry at the same time. I think I might just jump into that next episode since this one's been running for quite a while, but I'm not too sure.